This is the RV Game Changer. In this podcast, we will speak with manufacturing leaders, component suppliers, dealers, subsector innovators, influencers, and industry experts who all believe RVing is good for our environment. It's good for our economy. It's great for our family values and overall well-being. With your help, we can improve the RV experience for everyone.
Ready to buy or sell your RV? Visit RV Wheelaker. If you're selling your RV, we offer a retail-to-retail experience and will guarantee you a buyer at your agreed-upon price. Who else can say that? Only RV Wheelaker. Buying a pre-owned RV? Experience transparent pricing and top-notch customer service at RVWheelaker.com, where you'll buy your new-to-you RV directly from the owner. RV Wheelaker, where your adventure begins.
Ex-gens and baby boomers, pay attention. Tony Provost is a licensed expert with incredible insight on how to best plan for your retirement. Many of us dream of having RV adventures later in life, but we waited a bit too long to plan for this dream. What if there was a way to accelerate our plans by using little-known money management techniques which grow your savings and remove the often devastating downside of the market? This is where Tony Provost comes in. Tony has the knowledge and a lifetime of experience on how to use his unique no-risk strategies, which removes all the guesswork and downside from what we get from traditional methods of investing. Reach out to Tony and find out what the richest people in the world are doing with their money. You can do it too. Today's episode of RV Game Changer is brought to you by RVing Today TV. If it has anything to do with RVing and camping, you can bet you'll see it on RVing Today TV. Celebrating its 14th year, RVing Today TV is the #1 weekly RV and camping lifestyle show in the country. Available on major television stations and sports networks nationwide, as well as various streaming media platforms. Visit RVingToday.tv, where you'll find the list of stations and networks carrying the show, along with additional stories, news, and contests. Today on RV Game Changer, we have the pleasure of speaking with John DiPietro, co-host of RVing in New England and the Camper Report Show, co-owner of the RV consulting firm RV Insights, all with his long-term friend Bob Zagami. He also freelances as a reporter, videographer for several publications and programs throughout the country. Anywhere there are lots of RVers around, you're likely to find John. He's an avid RVer, social media influencer, and still finds the time to enjoy his children, grandchildren, and wife, Mary Beth. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you John DiPietro. Welcome, John.
Well, thank you so much, Bernie, and thank you so much for finding additional use of my high school yearbook picture.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, John, you've been doing media for a while now. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in the field of media and publicity?
Yes, Bernie, like many of you, I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, in a middle-class.
Okay, like me, yeah.
If I'm elected, I will give everybody who watches this show a brand new RV, because I think RVing should be part of everybody's lifestyle. In addition to that,
you're going to be a write-in vote for me, buddy. That's for sure.
In addition to that, you know what? We've been RVing for just, I think, 21 years now. 2003, we bought our first RV.
All right.
You know what? It gets in your blood. And having a background in TV and radio, it was just natural to start writing and talking about it. And we've been doing it.
Right.
So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah. So what was it that made you decide that, to join in all the fun and go RVing?
My sister bought one, and I never even considered it. I'd see these units driving down the highway, especially the pop-ups. They'd be driving in front of you on the highway, and they'd be bouncing around. I'd always say to my wife, I got to stay away from this camper because it's going to, lose control and spin out of control, and I'm going to run into it, and we're all going to get in trouble. And then we started seeing the big Class A's, because the B's and C's didn't even exist in 2003 and 4.
Right.
When we began. And then my sister got one, and we went on a couple trips with them and just kind of got the bug for it. And I'm just so
Wow.
glad we did.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful marriage ever since. You've been, you just love traveling in your Winnebago, and you're also reporting from the road, and you put a lot of miles on that vehicle, right? How many miles have you put on it?
We have this one here is our second one, and just hit 137,000 miles on it. The key to buying an RV, Bernie, is buying a one that's going to last.
Right.
And there's so many units out there that all look good when they're brand new. But I always tell people when they're buying their first RV, go look at the model that you're looking at. Look at one that's 5 years old. And
Right.
that will tell you how they're constructed and how they're going to hold up, especially in areas like New England where you don't get, year-round use of it. And it has to spend time in the cold and in the sun. And
Kind of hibernating.
hibernating and getting beat up. Getting beat up more by non-use than by use. That's the ironic part about RVs. You really have to use them to get the most benefit from them.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. A lot of my customers don't realize, they think that, they're buying an RV for 2 or 3 months a year. And if you can find ways to utilize it throughout the year, I think it's really important to do so, because the vehicle itself likes to be used. The like, for instance, the slide outs is one of my favorite topics. You got to use that slide motor, or else the slide motor won't work. Just like if you don't stand up and walk across the street, you're going to lose your ability to walk across the street. Same thing with the slide out.
Yeah. And I have said many times, my biggest fear of being in a campground is when you're ready to end your trip and you hit that retract button and nothing happens. And then panic sets in, but it's usually because I forgot to engage the emergency brake.
Right. There's motorhomes have these built-in kind of fail-safe, so you don't accidentally drive down the road with your slide open, right? So they set it up so you have to have the e-brake on, and you have to have the seat forward oftentimes, and there's all little triggers in those things to make sure that you don't drive away with your slide open.
Yep. Or take out the side of it at a gas station when you go around.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of different things.
It's funny, that movie that Robin Williams did about RVing, a lot of those things actually come true. A lot of those stories actually are faced in reality.
I am living example of the part where Robin Williams got beat up by his black tank. I can tell you a story specifically, and I'll be quick with it, but
okay, go.
Many times we use our RV in addition to traveling with it, but we are fortunate enough to have a summer home on Cape Cod. And whenever we invite lots of people over, we always bring the RV because it acts as an extra bedroom for us so that we can fit more guests in the house. So one year we're going down to the Cape and we're supposed to meet friends at so-and-so time. And they called and they were an hour early, but I hadn't yet dumped the RV from the trip to Myrtle Beach just 2 weeks earlier.
Ooh, so boy.
To say that I was full and to say that I was ripe are, two understatements. So we got to the sewage treatment plant, which I hadn't used before, in Hyannis, and pulled the lever, but there was one hose that I forgot to connect. And needless to say, I got a welcome to Cape Cod. I got
surprise.
I got hit. Oh. And my wife heard me yell. I was able to close the drain valve, and but the damage was done, Bernie. And my wife said, "You're not coming back in here unless you hose yourself off." So I attempted to do that, but since it was a commercial place and not a campground, the hose was a fire hose, and the fire hose either had two settings on it: off or
knock your socks off.
Not more than knock your socks off. Okay, so it took some delicate hosing down to live through that. And you know what? That was, I think, in 2004. So 20 years later, 20 years later, I still remember it. But when
You
you
lived
look
to tell about it, which is
about
and
it,
you kept camping.
and those movies, you know, a lot of them are baloney because they always show Robin Williams and the family driving down the street, and the kids are in the slide out part, and the slide out's out. But you know, you don't do that. But anyway, it was fun. Well, it wasn't fun then, but it's more fun to look back on than it was to be experiencing it.
You know, I see you about every day posting about local events, Breakfast with George, trains, planes, EV automobiles, RVs, and huge industry events.
Yep.
And the list goes on and on. Like, how do you keep so motivated to get up every day, get out there with your camera or your phone and take video and share that with everybody?
Well, Bernie, that's an excellent question. But the answer is it's a heck of a lot easier than used to be 10 years ago because now you've got phones that have better cameras on them than cameras. I always used to have a camera with me on the front seat of the car because, again, working in the radio TV biz, even though you weren't in the news department, if you came upon a breaking news story, you always took pictures and sent it to the newsroom.
Right.
So I always had it there. And, you know, there's a lot of crazy things that you see on the highway when you travel enough. You see some crazy stuff. And that's always been my MO, to have the camera there. And if you see something that you think others would have an interest in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you do spend a lot of time with trains. Is there any particular thing in your childhood that kind of says, hey, I want to find out what's going on with these trains?
Yeah, well, you know, as you know, I grew up in a middle-class family, and we live near train tracks like every middle-class family. And if I'm elected, I will have a train given to every member of this country because trains are very important. No, I'm sorry. I went off. I'm thinking of running for office, and I have to.
Yeah, it sounds that way.
You know, because again, I came from a middle-class family, just like you and me, but we lived on the poor side of the tracks, and we could hear the trains when they were coming. So I would run out of the house and run down to the tracks and wave to the engineers. And guess what? I'm still doing it.
Yeah, I love that. You know, it's amazing how something that's thrilled you as a child is still thrilling you today. And you know, it's okay to not grow up all the way, right?
Don't, Bernie. That is my kind of mantra. Why grow up? I have so many people that are the same age as me, but they're much older.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
Because they grew up, and there's nothing in the book that says you have to grow up. And if you look at life through the eyes of a child, okay, you will be much happier person because you look at the eyes of a. You know, we were at a big RV show this week, and those kids there. I mean, they're the reasons that we live right now. But
exactly,
look at their eyes, and you see the passion in their eyes. But there were little kids coming through in strollers this week.
And Hershey,
and there's magic in the eyes of a child. So there's nothing that says an adult has to look like they've just been told that their medical report was not good. You know what, look at life from the rosy side and smile at people, say hello to people. RVing allows you to do that. It allows you to look at the eyes of your grandkids through a campfire. Okay. And anybody who's watching the show that has been camping knows that the magic of RVing is not the RV. It's not the awning. It's not the 50-inch TV. It's the campfire. And it's looking at the eyes of those kids or grandkids on the other side of the campfire when they've got that little burnt marshmallow on the end of a stick. And you know what? They're burning themselves in the mouth trying to eat it too quickly. But you know what? That's what camping allows you to do. And camping is different things to different people. With us, we're not campers. We're travelers that happen to have an RV.
Okay.
We don't stay for a week at a time. But the beauty of RVing, Bernie, is that there are people that can have a seasonal park model and, only want to drive 10 miles from their home to the campground and stay there all weekend and put their feet up in a recliner, those new chairs that they have now that move you all around. And just, they bring a pickup truck full of wood with them every weekend because that's their relaxation. where there are
Right.
others that will, hit the road and stop at a Walmart or stop at a like just up in Derry, not Derry, New Hampshire. Where is it? Hooksett, New Hampshire has that rest area.
Right.
And, just north of Manchester, where I've stayed there a couple of times. Regardless of what your background is, you can find fun in RVing.
Speaking of fun, do you mind if we talk a little bit more about your fantastic family? I mean, you have a great bunch of folks here, and then this is a picture. Is that your daughter with her husband and the kids? Is that what's going on there with Mary Beth?
My wife is to my right
Your
here.
stage left, yeah.
Yeah, the kids are the grandkids, and that's my brother and his wife in the background.
Oh, fantastic!
I think my 70th birthday a few years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow! So
They had a party for me. Yeah, it looks
there's
about
something that you guys do that I want to show the public. It's like a once a year kind of thing, and you have this special event that you do, and let's take a look at it here anyway. And I think we can talk while it's going on.
Sure.
Okay, we're ready to.
You got it?
Yeah, tell us what's going on here, John.
Well, we are harvesting the tomatoes.
Okay, we're ready to. We'll tell you about it.
Ravioli and herb.
We put the tomatoes in here. Push them down.
Yeah, that's the official. That's the official.
And then it's left over from the bush.
It looks to me that this machine is actually peeling the skin off, then grinding the tomatoes. Am I correct?
That's exactly right. It peels the skin up on the top there. And
yeah, I saw it like in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, and then right there is the sauce itself, and then you add the basil and all the other stuff when you're ready to preserve it, because you make enough there last the whole year. But it's a machine that we have this year that we didn't have last year. Last year it took us like into the night from 9 in the morning until 10 at night, and it's dark out, but that's a new machine that my nephew invested in. But the thing with Italians and campers, it revolves around food.
Absolutely. Even though I'm like Irish, French, Canadian background, I'm all about the food when I'm camping, and that's why I love stuff like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And you talk to some of the other people. I mean, we are minor compared to what some of the food preparation items that some people that we've seen at campgrounds with, where they, if they have the big 40-foot travel trailer, fifth wheel, they've got all that storage. They bring their own tables, they bring their own grills, and et cetera, where our unit is a Class C that doesn't have the storage. So we tend to leech off other people that are parked nearby.
I never would have thought that about you, John.
Yeah, but you go over and you say, "Hey, that smells good. What is it?" And they said, "You want one?" "Yeah, I'll have two. Can you make a medium rare? And can you lightly toast the rolls?" So,
that's fantastic.
There's that as well. But the key to the whole thing with camping is food, fun, and family. What more?
Absolutely.
What more could you ask for?
All right. Hey, if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about NRVDA and RVing in New England and your relationship, how you met Bob Zagami and how it's developed over the years.
Yeah, well, Bob and I have been friends now for 2008. So what's that, 16 years.
Wow.
I bumped into him at an RV show where he was giving a seminar on how to buy an RV. And I had just bought one. And the crazy part about the RV, people who own RVs, they go to RV shows not to buy a new RV, but to justify their purchase.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Bob was giving a seminar, and he mentioned these Class C RVs on a Sprinter body, and the unit that we had already purchased was starting to wear out and starting to get some pricey repairs. So I listened to him, and then I ended up buying one, and he said, "Hey, let me see it." And as it turned out, we lived only 25 miles from each other. And you know what? It was one of those personalities that clicked. We had similar backgrounds. We were both Italian, both with a wife and 2 daughters, which we found out a little bit later. And, just with an interest in furthering the industry. He's well ahead of me in his experience in reporting on the industry. But I don't report on RVs. I report on RVers. So that show that we've done for coming up on 10 years now, RVing in New England, every Wednesday night at 7:00 has kind of, we said, well, let's try it for a week or two. And here it is 9 years later with, we do about 48 shows a year, every week live.
That's you guys in action there. Yeah, that's a lot of shows. And it's amazing the people you reach. So it's industry people and a lot of end users go there as well.
Yep, it's kind of a combo of the two, and we wouldn't be able to do it without our great audience. Obviously, people have nothing to do on Wednesday night if they're tuned into us. But you know what? It's one of those shows that is live. I think it's the only one of its kind in the entire United States that I've been able to see where studio audience members can actually participate in the show, because we'll put the link up and they can come on the show.
Yeah, they can come on, they can comment live in real time. And it seems as though I've co-hosted the show several times, and also been a watcher, and you respond almost instantaneously depending on what it is. You ask the audience a question and everyone is so forthcoming. They really want to engage with you guys. And as a result, you guys have been an industry staple in the RV industry, and people really look to you for advice and commentary.
And we're not trying to preach,
right?
Tell people, because we need their response. There are people that in the show that are engineers that we ask a question, and like, how long will it take to drive from New England to Florida at 60 miles an hour in a rainstorm? And they will put down and say it will take you X number of hours, but if the wind is coming at you at more than 15 miles an hour, you have to add a coefficient of drag in that. And
and I know who exactly you're talking about. Our good buddy Walter.
Yep. And just
he
like
is
us,
amazing.
Yep. Just like
and then
us.
Go ahead.
Just like us, they came from middle-class families. And
right.
If I'm elected, I will give everybody a Google map that will allow them to go from New England to Florida. Because
and what cabinet member will you make Walter?
Walter would be the Secretary of Statistics.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Walter would be the Secretary.
Okay. Well, you guys also do some other stuff, but a couple of years ago, you had this big project that you did, and let's talk a little bit about the Do It Now tour and its past and possible future.
Well, here's the deal with the Do It Now tour. As you can see, it was 2022, and everybody had a mindset. We're coming off of COVID, somewhat off of COVID, but everybody says, you know what? I'm going to wait till next year. I'm going to wait till next year. I'm going to put it off a little bit. Here's the reality, Bernie, is that next year isn't guaranteed. I mean, unless you've got a guarantee on your life that I was not aware of. I've heard of people that said, I'm going to buy an RV right when I retire. And I know of someone in particular who was supposed to retire on December 31st. Well, just before Thanksgiving, he got sick and was put in the hospital, and on December 31st was buried. So he never got to enjoy any of it. I've had family members that died way too young. And I said, look, we don't have a guarantee that next year is going to be there, or next week, or tomorrow. Okay. So consequently, we said, let's just do it now. And that's what we did. We went from Maine. Actually, that tour began with you right up in your dealership.
Yeah. That was a privilege of mine. Yeah, that was wonderful.
That big Dynamax RV where we went from New Hampshire. Actually, we drove to Maine and then came back to New Hampshire and then went to Florida so that we could officially say that we went from Maine to Florida, and had a great time.
You know what amazed me too is that you own such a small RV, the Winnebago View. It's a Class C on a Mercedes chassis, and you are driving this Dynamax. And how big was that? Like 38 feet or something like that?
Yeah, that was about 38 feet long and, totally different.
About 13 and a half feet tall and
way high up. And you got
101 inches wide. That thing was big.
It took a while. I think I scraped about 3 RVs in the Campers Inn parking lot on the way out, but I know the statute of limitations is up on that right now, so I can tell you.
Oh,
that
good. Yeah.
I
So even if you talk about it, we're safe.
I took out 2 pop-ups over in the corner, but nobody saw me, so I figured, what the heck, we'll keep going. But it was great. It was a blast. And I think we had 1 grandchild with us that time. Then the next year, we took 2 of them. I don't think you can take more than 2 without them beating each other up. So we're limiting it to 2 grandkids per trip. And we're working on a couple more right now. And you know what, Bernie? You got to do it when you're healthy. You got to do it when you're healthy. Because, as you know, the sad thing is so many times people that are buying their first RV, they can barely bend over to pull the levers to clean the black tanks.
They wait a little too long. Yeah.
Wait too long. So you got to do it. You got to do it when the time is available to do. So
fantastic. If you don't mind, let's just jump into another. You're quite a prolific person here. I want to make sure people get a full view of what you're up to. How about the Camper Report show?
Yep. And all 3 of us were born in middle-class families. And Camp Report show. I hope people understand what this middle-class families spoof is, but
I'm voting for you, John. Don't you worry, and I'll tell everybody.
That is Bob on the left, me on the right, our colleague Patrick Buchanan from the RV Life Network, and that was taken down to Hershey Show. But RV Life is the company that owns the show. We're just merely the talent that puts it together. RV Life is a program. RV Life Trip Wizard is a trip planning program, but there are also about 50 different blogs, about 50 different manufactured units. So if you have a Winnebago one, you go to the Winnebago one. If you have a Forest River one, you go to the Forest River one. If you want to find out about campgrounds, you go to the RV Life Campgrounds. So that show is a little bit different in that.
Very different.
We do it a little bit differently, but
who's your audience for that one, and where do you get your information?
We get a lot of our information from RV Business and Woodall's Campground Magazine, and we do a little bit of the breaking news of the week. And for example, we were in Hershey last week, so we devoted a whole show to what took place in Hershey. So that's that. And that's available if you go to youtube.com/The Camper Report Show, The Camper Report Show. You get to see it. And if you really have nothing to do, go back to show number 1 and watch all 195 shows.
And make sure you like and share all of those. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. 195 shows. I can't believe it.
Wow.
It's a lot of shows.
So how long that's 4 years-ish?
Yeah. Well, what do we got? 50 weeks in a year.
Yeah.
Right? 54, 200 years. I mean, 200 years. 200 shows. Sometimes it seems like 200 years, but you know what? It's a great show. And we're honored.
We're very proud of you for that. But let's talk about what you can offer a dealership or a manufacturer or a component designer with the company RV Insights. What is that, and what do you have to offer?
RV Insights is the consulting company that Mr. Zagami and I have put together that offers dealerships as well as suppliers and manufacturers the capability to help out their sales and their marketing, because we know who's out there buying and we know how to reach them. And, there are so many new people coming into the campground industry right now that need to know what campers, what's the DNA of a camper. most campers that we know, just like you and I, Bernie, they grew up in middle-class families. And, with that being said, if anybody needs our services, rvinsights.com will get them to us, and we'd be happy to speak to them about how we can help their business.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about like what you have done with RV Insights and the effect that it might have had on those particular businesses.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've had people come to us with new products that say, you know what, we want to offer this as a add-on to an existing motorhome. And we said, well, look, rather than do that, why don't you go right to the manufacturer and have the product included in the unit when it's being built, which is a little longer process, but then you sell 50,000 of them a year instead of 1,000 a year. So it's the industry is all about relationships and connections. So
and you guys seem to have those connections already in place. I mean, the one thing that I do as a takeaway with our relationship and with you and Bob and all the things that you do is that whenever someone doesn't know who I am when I'm out and about and they think they should know who I am, but they really don't, I just said, oh yeah, I'm friends with John DiPietro, and we do some work together. And then that it loosens them right up. It's amazing how many contacts that you guys have and the credibility just by me dropping your name actually adds to my credibility. And I appreciate having this relationship that we can share this exchange. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's all about relationships, and it's, in the RV industry, it's less about the product than it is about the people. That's my interpretation of it.
And you have a tremendous reputation throughout the RV industry, within the media industry. People look to you to give them the real information as they do on RVing in New England. And you also get the feedback that then in turn you can bring back to those industry leaders to help, whether it be improve services, the product itself, or the communication between the customer and the end user, which makes you a true RV game changer. And John, I cannot thank you enough for spending time with me today on RV Game Changer. It's been a real treat, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Well, thank you so much, Bernie. You have a great day.
You too.
Ready to buy or sell your RV? Visit RV Realtor. If you're selling, we guarantee you a buyer at your agreed upon price. If you're buying, we'll help you find the RV of your dreams and introduce you directly to the owner. RV Realtor, where your adventure begins.
And if you want to find the latest episode of RV Game Changer, make sure you go to rvtoday.tv, where you find our latest episode along with a lot of great information, tips and tricks, and videos of RVing Today TV. If you want to get a hold of me, go to RV Game Changer on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and make sure to subscribe. Have a wonderful week, and God bless.